Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be doing an overnighter in the OneTigris Rock Fortress hot tent, which I recently purchased mainly for winter canoe camping. So what I'm going to do now is give you a look at what comes with the tent, and then we'll try and get it set up. So as you can see guys, it's a pretty hefty unit. It weighs 4.8 kilograms, so it's not really a backpacking tent, but I thought it would be ideal for an up and coming canoe trip that we've got planned over Christmas up to the Highlands of Scotland. So that's just an indication of the size. So inside the bag, obviously you've got the tent. You get a centre pole. I'll just give you a quick look at that. All seems to be fairly good quality. It all just fits together like so. And then you've got a section for the flue of your stove. We'll all see how this all fits together. This will be the first time I've pitched the tent. Now there's a bag of pegs here as well, and also some guy lines for the sides of the tent, and you get a bunch of alloy tent pegs. I think there's about 24 or 25 of them. And obviously you get the tent itself, so I'm going to try and set this thing up. So I've put the centre pole together. It's probably about 7 foot long, I would have thought. All seems to be pretty good quality. And on the top there, it's actually adjustable. You can move it up or down. The instructions say put it on the third hole down, so that's what I've done. And apparently you're supposed to peg out one of the doors, insert the pole, peg out the other doors, then go around and peg the rest of the tent out. So that's what I'm going to do now. Well folks, the tent is up, and I am not going to lie, it took me best part of 25 minutes to get that up. It fell down a couple of times. It is pretty windy. The pegs don't really seem to grip into the soil that we have here in the woodland. These are about 6 inches long. We've got about 8 inches of loose peat on top of a clay base in this wood, so these aren't really much cop at all for me. But I mean, that's not OneTigris' fault. This tent would probably pitch comfortably enough on some proper grass. So I'll upgrade the pegs, but so far so good. You can see it's up. So what I'm going to do next is tie the guy lines on, and then we'll peg the tent out properly and we'll go and have a proper look. Well guys, so the tent's up. I've been round, I've tightened the guy lines, and it's looking fairly sturdy, to be honest. So what I'll do is I'll take the camera off the tripod, and then we'll go and have a closer look. So the guy lines, you just have to tie them onto these plastic rings. I'm not really too sure how much stress they would take in bad conditions. But you've got to remember that this tent cost me £238. And for that price, I don't think you can complain too much about anything really. I mean, yeah, the pegs are without doubt naff. That replaced those. It's definitely, not the quality of a tent TP, but it doesn't come with a almost £2,000 price tag as well. Now the zip looks pretty interesting. You can see there it's all sealed, and you've got a vent there which I'm going to try and open. So we'll have a look inside. Just have a look at this vent here. So that just affixes there with Velcro. That'll do. And inside, you know, it's a fairly decent size. I mean, huge for one person, comfortable enough for two. Although OneTigris claim that it can sleep between 4 and 6, which, you know, might be a bit of a tight squeeze. But yeah, so far so good. And you do have another door here, which is actually pretty useful here in the UK if you're hot tenting. Unless you're in the depths of winter, it never really gets that cold, does it? So you've got 2 zips as well, so you can open the door from either end if you just want to let a bit more ventilation in. And there appears to be another vent there. And there's the stove jack opening there, all fitted on with Velcro, so you have to take that off, roll it up, and then put the fireproof section on. But yeah, it's not too bad. Ideal for canoe camping, which is what I bought it for. The material does actually feel quite good quality as well. It's ripstop, and it's not thin, you know, that's quite thick, which will help to keep the heat in. And on the tie down points, or the peg out points, you do have a buckle there, so you can just go around and make a few final adjustments. We'll just have a look in the other door and we'll get that vent open. I think the doors can be held back. Yeah, so I think I'll put my stove in here for tonight. I think I'll have plenty of room. You do also have snow skirts here on the bottom, so if it's snowing you can pile the snow on top of here and keep the drafts out, or you can just tuck them under. There is a toggle there so you can tie them up in warmer weather. So I've just been back to the car to pick up the Anavi Frontier stove, which I'll be using tonight. I've had this unit for around 10 years now, and I think I paid about £79 for it, so a pretty good value back in those days. It's definitely not lightweight, probably weighs somewhere around 12 or 13 kilograms, but I have used it over the years canoe camping in winter, and to be honest, it's served me well. It's not the prettiest of stoves, it's definitely the utilitarian option. It's not as fancy as the fold flat stainless steel or the ultralight titanium ones, but I can't really justify spending the money on one of those just yet when there's plenty of life left in this one. So I'm going to get it set up and I'll give you a look. So I've got the wood burner in, you can see the flue coming out there. I've got a kickback section which will just help move any sparks away from the tent, and that's how it exits the tent there. Now it was a bit of a carry on actually, because there's a huge hole where I wanted to put the wood burner, so I had to do a little bit of adjustment. It's like a massive ditch right down here, so it's difficult to get it straight, so it's kind of facing this way which isn't ideal, but I'm starting to get some more camp equipment in. I've got my chair up there. I'll put my bed over there I think, and I'll put my chair here. Now back to the stove. So what I've done with this, the stove does come with a what do you call it, a damper in the flue, but it's absolutely useless, so I just removed that. Now these stoves were originally designed for deployment in disaster areas, you know, they weren't really designed for use in tents, and one of the problems people have with them is that they don't draw very well, because obviously you've got such a narrow pipe. Now you're supposed to control the air intake with just this little mechanism here. You know, you kind of keep the door open like that, and the problem that people have, because the draw isn't so great, it kind of fills up with smoke, and the smoke comes out and it basically fills your tent with smoke, and they are quite annoying. So what I've done, as I've mentioned, I've took the damper out. That does help. And in the bottom here I've got just a DIY grate which just kind of slides in there. It goes the length of the burner and it just allows a bit of airflow underneath the wood, and it does work really well actually. So that's something worth doing, a very easy mod you can do. And then to stop the issues with the smoke getting into the tent, I drilled 3, I think the 10mm holes here in the bottom. So I don't, once the stove gets up to temperature, I just kind of leave it open, get a good burn going, and when it gets hot I just completely shut the door. And those 3 holes provide just about enough oxygen there, you know, to kind of give us a nice hot burn, and you don't have to worry about smoke coming out the top. I have got this bit of aluminium flat bar on. If I ever did want to control the burn, I could just move it down like that, but to be honest I've never ever used it. I just keep it up all the time and it works fine. And then when you open it up, everything in there is nice and hot. You don't get any smoke coming out into the tent. So it works faultlessly with these few mods. And you've got a little ashtray there. I mean, if you did want to mod your own stove, you don't really need this kind of control unit on. Just drill a few holes in it, it'll work great. The only thing is, if you did really want to, you know, to kind of stop the burn, if you had to leave early or whatever, if you want to just kill the fire, you can just put that down. So yeah, that's it, the little Frontier stove. Heavy little beast it is, mine, and can be a little bit awkward, but it does the job. So it's about 1:45 now. Everything's pretty much sorted in terms of the tent and the wood burner. I just need to prep some wood. I've got some food and some beers down in the truck which I need to bring up, and I've got a camp bed and some reindeer pelts that I'm going to go and collect from the cabin and put those in the tent, because it's going to be freezing tonight and I'll need to stay warm. It's one of the drawbacks of winter camping. It just gets dark so early, you know. I mean, at the moment it's dark at 4, but in a few weeks time it'll be 3:30 and then that's it. And you have these kind of long, lonely nights when you're camping on your own. So I'll be using a mixture of softwood and hardwood tonight in that Frontier stove. I find that it's best to keep lots of thin, kindling sized bits of wood. If you make as much of that as you can, it makes life a lot easier, because I'm guessing all of these small stoves are pretty much the same. They're not like the, you know, kind of 10 kilowatt stoves you have in your house where you can stick a massive chunk of oak on it, it'll burn all night. I tend to use that, you know, to kind of heat the tent up quickly. You leave a bed of coals in there, it burns off quite quickly, and then you put more thin wood in, get the fire going again, get some bigger bits in, just let it burn off quickly, keep the heat coming, and then just repeat that, you know, once every 40 minutes or so. I think if you start putting huge chunks of wood in, it just struggles to burn. So it does take a bit of work, a bit of prep beforehand to get your wood all cut to the right size. One of the best things about the cold weather and winter is you can get your daft woolly jumpers out again. Although regular viewers of the channel will recognise this one as one of the better ones. I'm actually just trying to bash through some knotty pine here. I found a lovely bit of fat wood in there. Try and get that in focus. So I'm probably going to put that to one side actually and process that for future use. I'm still using a bit of fat wood to light the campfire underneath the parachute that I processed from Sweden in 2018, so 3 years ago, and it's lasted that long. But I want to get as much wood as possible in there, because I don't want to be walking around and trying to look for wood after dark, or using the axe to chop wood after dark. In fact, I don't want to be mooching around this woodland after dark, full stop, because it's haunted. Now, I'm not sure if this forest is really haunted or not, but it is an ancient woodland, and it was once owned by the kings of the north. I ain't making this up. There was a forest that ran from Bootham Bar in York all the way north for miles and miles and miles. It was called the Forest of Galtres, obviously named by a Norman king, I would have thought. But it was deforested towards the end of the 1500s, I believe, and it used to be the hunting grounds for the king and his nobles. But when they deforested it, apparently they'd found settlements that had existed unbeknown to anyone else for centuries. There's a few main areas. You've got easing walls, you've got sheriff hunting, but these little villages, you know, people were just living there, obviously hunting and using the resources that they could get their hands on, which are plentiful, to be honest. There's loads of hazel, there's blackberries, there would have been wild boar, deer, you name it. Could have been good living back in those days. But yeah, there's hardly any of the ancient forest left, but this is one part that still remains. I mean, obviously you can see behind the main standings are Scots pine, because the birch and the oak, the hardwoods, were felled for the Second World War apparently, and they were replanted with a quicker growing species, which is still native to the UK, but it's not native to North Yorkshire. So my mission in life while I'm still alive is to fell as many pines as I can and replace them with oaks, birch, chestnut, cherry, those types of species. But it's a bit of an eerie place to walk around. I don't know if it's because it is an ancient woodland. I don't know, maybe it holds a particular type of energy, who knows? I don't know. But even when my friends have come and we've camped over, I do say, yeah, it's a little bit eerie. But then again, I'm guessing that there's something in human DNA which tells you not to walk around the forest after dark. There would have been all kinds of predators and risks and those types of things. If you build a little camp and you stay put, you mark your territory, camping in woodlands is a breeze. You start walking around in the night, nah, you've had it. So that's why I want to get prepared, because I don't want to come face to face with the Jabberwocky. So we're all sorted now. I'll just give you a look round, being careful not to step on these guy lines. So the wood burner is looking good. I think I should have enough fuel for this evening. I've kind of forgotten how efficient wood burners are, because we've been having an open fire all the time recently. Well, that should last me this evening. Now over here I've got my gas burner for the morning to get a coffee on nice and quick. A couple of Welsh cakes over there. My coffee maker, and I've got a Uco candle and this little LED light. And then the beds over there. It's just one of those cheap high gear fold out camp beds from Go Outdoors. Cost about 20 quid, but it's comfortable enough. I've got a nice pillow from the cabin and a reindeer hide which should keep me warm. I've got my wife's sleeping bag, the regular size DD Dura. I've got this little light which I'm going to use later on so I can film in the dark. I've got a down jacket there. Might go to sleep in that. Oh, then I've got the little Grant's Brook hand hatchet. I love this little thing. Comes everywhere with me. Got the bushcraft belt. Bit of reading, bit of Jack London for this evening. I've got a battery there. I'm already having to charge the camera batteries because it's so cold. They seem to be dying out pretty quick. Now, OneTigris say that this tent is suitable for between 4 and 6 people, and I was like, nah, it's a good 2-person tent. But if you just have a look there in relation to the pole, you could easily fit 4 camp beds in this tent. You know, one there, one on the other side, one would go along there next to the door, and the other one here. I mean, granted it would take up most of the room, but if you just put them up on the evening, then I can't really see any problems. So it's quite a decent size actually. I mean, it's going to be magic for two of us. So for dinner tonight, guys, we're going to be cooking up a lamb tagine, nice Moroccan dish. Very basic ingredients, but a really fantastic dish. So what I've got here, I've got some cloves of garlic which I'll chop up, some fresh ginger, good handful of shallots, and then I've got some diced lamb shoulder, some fresh coriander, we've got some ras el hanout spices, and in here I've got some dates and some green olives, a bit of lemon to give it some zing, a touch of tomato puree, and I'll be serving it up with some yogurt and some Moroccan style couscous. Now I'm going to put it all together now, and it can just sit here, and I'll get it on the stove once the burner's on the go, and it should take 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But this is just a small little tagine here. We've only used this a couple of times. It's only suitable for one person really. So I'll get that on and we'll see how we get on. Well guys, we're getting there. Just got to chop my dates. I think I'll just put my olives in whole. So this is one of my favourite tagine recipes. Well, strictly speaking, it's not a tagine, it's a Moroccan stew. The vessel that you cook it in, this conical shaped pot, that's called a tagine. And you can put anything you want in them. I first had one when I was backpacking around Morocco. When I was a young man. It's over 20 years ago now. Spent a month backpacking around Morocco, and I just fell in love with the tagines. I mean, some of them are expensive, depends where you go, but along the side of the roads and in markets and that, you can pick up a tagine for, you know, not a lot of cash. Can't remember how much they used to cost back then. But I've since returned to Morocco, you know, a bit older, a bit wiser. Managed to get myself a wife. So I've been back twice now, me and Tris we have. We went once in 2015 on the motorbike, that was a great trip. And then we returned the following year in the 4x4. And we would just stop at the roadsides, and they would usually have, sometimes 30 or 40 tagines all cooking at once. And you just kind of point at the one that you want, and then they'll bring it over to you. Just lovely slow cooked stew. Now they tend to, they put meat and usually something sweet in them, I've found. Chicken and apricot, that's quite popular. But I really just like lamb and date, it's lovely. Just cook it for maybe 2 or 3 hours. I encourage you to try it at home. They're really straightforward. You can cook them in Dutch ovens, but I think using a proper tagine just makes a stew much better, because you don't put a lot of water in. Now they're shaped like this because on the edge of the Sahara, obviously it's a dry territory, so you just put a little bit of water in, and as it's cooking all the steam just goes up into the pot and then just comes back down, so all the juices of the meat and the vegetables, you don't lose them. Although I have noticed that this one, they have put a hole in this for some reason, which lets the steam escape, which defeats the object. But the main one I cook with at home, that doesn't have any holes in it, and it is beautiful. You get some really nice meals. So yeah, I mean, you can't cook them in a Dutch oven, but you know, a lot of the steam will escape, and you keep having to top it up with water, and it's not the same. Now the traditional spice they use, again, you know, you can put anything in it. It's called ras el hanout, but ras el hanout in Arabic just means from the top shelf. So when you were going to make a really nice tagine and you wanted to make a good one, you would go to the spice man and ask for the ras el hanout, you know, the best spice from the top shelf. So you could get anything, I think. This one's from Sainsbury's, and I prefer this one. I've tried others, but this one's quite a good mix. So yeah, great little dish. I love it. But you need to cook it slowly for at least 2 or 3 hours, so it's perfect for this winter camping lark. Gonna get everything in the pot, and I'll just show you what it looks like, and then I think it'll be time to crack open a beer. So that's how it's looking so far, guys. We've got the garlic, ginger, the shallots in there. I've cut the dates up, we've got some olives, I've put the spices in. I've added a bit of smoked paprika, a bit of turmeric and a touch of salt and pepper. I've got the lemon and the coriander, which will go in later on. I've put probably about 2 tablespoons of tomato puree in there, and then we're just going to get the lamb in. We'll add a bit of water and then we'll just put it to one side, and once the wood burner's on, it'll just go straight on top, and I can just sit back and enjoy a few beers and wait for it to cook. Just stir it around a bit, make sure those spices get on the meat. It's looking good. So I'm just going to add a touch of water now. That's about all you want. You don't want much more than that. You can always check it after half an hour, 45 minutes, and see how it's getting on, and add a bit more if you need to. But I'll just pop that on top of the fire. So I've got a trivet on top of the wood burner here. I'll just raise the tagine off by about ½ centimetre, which will stop it just getting boiled into eternity. So the temperature's dropped and I've had to put the down jacket on. The sun's pretty much gone down now, so it's time for a sundowner. I think I'm gonna opt for a Brewdog Dead Pony Club Session IPA. Had this one before, 3.8%. Great starter. Got a little bottle opener here on the bushcraft belt. And my camera battery icon is already flashing. It's another dead battery. But I'll change that over now. So cheers everyone. Oh, that is refreshing. After a hard day setting up camp, that is really refreshing. I think I'm just going to leave my chair out for a while. I don't want to get in the tent too early. It's going to be a long night, but I'm going to go and wander around the perimeter of the woods to make sure everything's alright. I am the lord of the manor around these parts, so I've got to keep on top of things. I can hear a pheasant, which to be honest makes me a little nervous, but that is a different story, which I might get round to telling at some point during this video. But if not, I'll tell you about that some other time. I wish I had a pound for every time I've tripped over one of these guy lines today. But yeah, the pheasant story. I went up onto Levisham Moor up in North Yorkshire. Was it a week ago? 10 days ago. Got up onto the moor, started hiking. I was actually planning on doing a wild camp, and I encountered a pheasant. Now there's pheasants in this wood, I can hear one now, and you cannot get anywhere near them. You know, as soon as they hear you coming, they're off. Quite nervous, shy creatures. This one wasn't. It was hanging around my legs and everything. I was like, this is weird. First I thought was, oh, that's nice and friendly. And then as I started walking, man, the thing just assaulted us. Proper full on attack. Pecking at the back of my legs, my hands. Couldn't get away from it. I ended up actually stumbling. I had a heavy backpack on, and I stumbled and pulled a muscle down the right hand side of my leg. And I had to abandon the camping trip because of this pheasant. I would have killed it, to be honest. In hindsight, I think I should have done, because it was it went for me face, you know. And they have sharp beaks and sharp claws, and this thing went up for me face, and I had to like give it a left-handed jab to get rid of it. But I couldn't help thinking, you know, what happens if a kid comes along and they think, oh, here's a friendly pheasant, and it goes for its face. So afterwards I thought, oh, do you know what, I should have just booted it. Johnny Wilkinson style from the halfway line, Twickenham penalty, Saturday afternoon, just kind of booted it into the heavens. There's obviously something wrong with it, like really aggressive it was. Yeah, that's the pheasant story. I got beat up by a pheasant. Well guys, it's about time to get this stove on, I think. Time's pushing on a little bit, so I'm just going to move those firelighters out of the way. I'm just using these little, what do they call them, like wood wire firelighters, the little waxy things. They're excellent. Got some thin pine here, some kindling. Now I find with the Frontier it's best to build the fire up in the front. Some people say build it towards the back, but in my experience building it towards the front is a bit more effective. And you just got to kind of accept that you're going to get a little bit of smoke in the tent to begin with, you know. I'm not really sure how it works with these new ones. Don't know if the design has improved drastically, but with this one I always think, you know, just accept it. Don't even think that these are gonna... Right, that's a bummer. I haven't got any matches. These are absolutely just damp. They've been in the back of the truck. I thought I might have some in the... Oh, there we go. I thought I might have some in the shed, but I didn't. I have got a fire steel with me, mine, so I'm not too worried. So I'll just leave this door open for a while and let it get up to heat while I enjoy this this Brewdog Punk IPA. I don't know if this light's a bit too harsh. I just bought it off Amazon the other day. It's bloody hell, I can't see. That might be better, is it? Or is that not enough? Ah, it's a bit better, isn't it? It's actually it's doing alright. There's not a lot of smoke coming out. Definitely think if you just move that damper from the flue. Often, I mean, there's times where I've had it shut and I haven't realised, and you're thinking, oh, why is my fire not lighting properly, what's wrong? And then you realise the damper's been on and all kinds of stuff. Another problem with these as well is the spark arrestor clogs up really quickly. You know, you need to check it every day. Usually I keep it off and I haven't had any problems, but because this is a new tent and it's you know, it's nylon, I thought I would just put it on. I did clean it the other day, clean it with some hot water and give it a good scrub. So a plane going overhead there. This is looking good. I'll just get a few more little bits in. I'll keep some of the smaller bits for in the morning. I'll get a little stash ready with a fire lighter so I can get up, get the fire on, get back into bed for 20 minutes and then wake up in a nice warm tent. Well guys, this is done. It's been on for 3 hours. That looks fantastic. So I'm going to take this off the heat now. Serve up. Well folks, the tagine is cooked. That is looking beautiful. You can see how the moisture, it's all reduced down. It's just got these lovely chunks of lamb. And there's shallots in there as well. So I've got a bit of couscous on the side and some yoghurt here. So I'm going to get stuck in and enjoy this. It's a little bit hot at the moment, but a bit of lamb with a bit of cold yoghurt. Beautiful. it's fantastic. It's been cooking for 3 hours and the lamb is so soft. Oh. Lovely sweetness as well with the dates. Well folks, that meal was fantastic, cooked to perfection. It was on the stove for 3 hours, so the meat was like just falling apart and the flavours that were coming through were brilliant. So I really enjoyed that. I've just cracked open some wine in my new mug. I bought a Snow Peak titanium or titanium, however you want to say it, camping mug, 450ml. Obviously because it's Snow Peak it costs more than other titanium mugs. Now it's got the Snow Peak logo on this side here, which is a bit of a bummer if you're right-handed, because when you're drinking no one can say how much you paid for your mug. If you're left-handed, you know, you're fine. But the reason why I bought this was that those folder cups, the Swedish folder cups, the plastic ones that I've been using now for probably about a year and a half, I love them, they're great, but I think the older they get, they're kind of picking up all the flavours of the things that I'm using them for, especially coffee. Now I usually have 4 or 5 coffees in the morning, and they just hang on to the smell and the taste of coffee. So if you put water in later on, you're just tasting coffee. If you put wine in or what have you, or tea, you just taste coffee. So I decided to upgrade and to get a titanium mug. This one's alright. Could have saved a few quid and not got a Snow Peak one, but at least this is 100% titanium guaranteed. Not that the others probably aren't 100% titanium, but you never know. Pheasants. So yeah, other than that, not much to report really. The tent's holding the heat quite nicely. I'm quite pleased about it actually. I was a little bit worried that the material would be, you know, quite thin, but it's not, you know, it's like, it is keeping the heat in, and it does feel good quality. I mean, all the seams are taped as well, so it shouldn't let any rain in or anything like that, but we'll be able to test that, because I think it's going to rain. Well, the last time I checked the forecast, it was due to rain throughout the night, so we'll see. But yeah, it's so warm, I've had to take the old crazy woolly jumper off, down to my t-shirt. But I mean, it's quite good, this little Frontier stove like that. It does put out some heat. But I think, I'm not really sure what time it is. I think it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. But I'll just have a quick check. It's 8:30. So there's still plenty of time. Plenty of time to go. The night is still young. So I'm actually just happy just sitting here listening to the sounds of the woods. That's quite nice. The crackle of the fire in the wood burner, gently quaffing some wine out of my very expensive titanium Snow Peak mug. Morning everyone, I've got a brew on in the old Snow Peak titanium mug, the posh one. If I hold it like that you can see the logo, look at that. But yeah, that was a nice evening. Got to bed about 11. I checked the temperature and it was 1 degrees, and there was a bit of condensation beginning to form on the lower half of the tent, where the heat from the wood burner was radiating. Obviously there was no condensation, but during the night the temperature rose quite drastically. Actually, by the time I woke up at 7 o'clock it was 7 degrees. So I had a good check of the tent, particularly where I was sleeping, and there was absolutely zero condensation. But then again, you know, you wouldn't expect any of those types of temperatures. I did wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning due to some severe wind. I'm talking about the atmospheric wind there. It was ripping through the tree tops, and it didn't really impact upon the tent though, because we're so deep into the woods. So I couldn't really see how the tent would react in the wind, although I think, you know, should be pretty sturdy once you've upgraded those naft pegs that come with it. But yeah, other than that, I'm quite happy about it. I was warm enough in the DD sleeping bag with the reindeer pelt, but that'll keep you warm down to freezing and beyond, I would have thought. I didn't use a lot of wood, maybe it's 2/3 or 3/5, or maybe it's 4/6. But I've got the wood burner back on, just getting a little bit of heat coming out from that now. So yeah, quite happy so far. There was a fair few flying insects in the tent though when I woke up. I don't know if they were just kind of in the leaves on the evening, or if they'd come in somewhere, I don't know. Not too much of a problem though, they weren't biting insects. I'm not sure, I don't think you can buy a ground sheet or a net for this tent. If you wanted to use it in the summer, yeah. I mean, I didn't buy it for the summer. I probably wouldn't use this at all in the summer. I wouldn't have thought. You know, I've got other tents, you know, with bug nets and ground sheets that I'd use for summer. But so far, so good for this. I think it'll, you know, suit the purpose which I bought it for. You know, winter canoe camping. A good bit of kit to have for any kind of fire is a pocket bellows. I got this one off eBay for £5. I use it all the time. I use it with the gilly kettle, the firebox stove. I use it on an open fire, and it works great with these little burners as well. I mean, I've just put a load of wood in there on top of some coals, and just to get it back alight again, you just blast the hell out of it with this. There you go, and that's lit. So it's a useful little investment, especially if you've got one of these small portable wood burners. Just got the coffee pot back on the Frontier stove. I'll probably start packing up a little bit, I think, and then enjoy another coffee. So this is the water heater that I have for the Frontier stove. It wraps around the flue pipe, so it uses that as a heat source, and then it sits on the hot plate as well. And you've got a little tap here. It holds 3 litres and just gives you a constant source of hot water. So it's great for washing up on the evening. If you cook your dinner, fill this up with water and just let it simmer away, do your dishes. And then you've got some hot water for a cup of tea on the night. So quick thoughts on the tent. Is it any good? Definitely. Is it worth the money? It is. It's a pretty good value, I think. There's 2 areas which I'm going to improve. One of them is the little plastic O-rings on the guy lines. I don't think they'll stand up to severe weather, so I'm going to swap those out. The pegs are no good for me. I'm going to put a set of 10-inch rock pegs with this tent, and other than that I think it's brilliant, especially for the price. It's a bit of a bargain really. I paid £238 for it. The material itself is really good quality. It's not thin, it's nice and thick. It's waterproof. It rained last night, the water was just beading off it. The pole is good quality, the vents work brilliantly, and the 2-door idea is fantastic. So yeah, I haven't got too many bad things to say about it, just a couple of little areas that need improving, and I think this will be a solid canoe camping tent for the winter. The zips on the doors as well, they're great, didn't let any water in last night. And the wind was driving the rain a little bit, especially on that back door. And it all performed faultlessly. I might get cracking actually, because I think there is showers forecast today. And the tent's pretty dry at the moment, so I'm going to try and get it away before it starts to rain. Well folks, we're all packed up just in time as well, just started to rain. So yeah, as ever, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, I appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up if you can, it helps the channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so, that also helps the channel. So as ever, thanks for watching, I'll catch you again in the next one.